risen once again.
Hello there everybody, you're there in time, SuperSonicBlur, and welcome to the God Guide kit explanation and build for Ra. One of the first gods that you get in the game, Free God, has actually found himself to be kind of a fun god, and going back to this guy, I've kind of noticed that actually, yeah, he's really quite fun. He's kind of been a very strong utility mage. He's also come in with a butt ton of burst. He's not the safest option, but he is still fairly okay. And yeah, really fun mage, which is probably the most important part about this guy, is the fact that he is fun. He is so much fun, ladies and gentlemen. And for that, we'll explain that in the kit explanation. Okay, so Ra's passive is called the Speed of Light. Every time Ra uses an ability, his movement speed is increased by 6% for 15 seconds and a max of 3 stacks. This is amazing because it's a little bit like Poseidon, where it's sort of he gains movement speed, but instead of losing it when he uses his abilities and he gains more power for it and you've got to manage the meter a lot, this is a basic bog standard concept. If I use an ability, I'll move faster. See, look at that. I'll move a lot faster. And I'll move faster for 15 seconds. And this can stack up to 3 times. So if I go and do this and show you, you'll see that I move a little bit faster. And then, as you can see here, look at that. I move a little bit faster still. This will literally give you the movement speed of boots before you have boots. This means that actually, you're kind of a fast mage in the beginning of the game. You don't have to constantly spam it, but an important thing to note is that it will decrease instantly all the stacks. It's not like it goes from 3, then back down to 2, then back down to 1. It will just lose them all instantly. But Ra is amazing. He's absolutely amazing when it comes to that kind of stuff. It's great. Now, I've already given you a little preview about his 1, 2, and 3, but let's go over exactly what they are. Celestial Beam is his 1. This is your wave clear. Really strong ability. Ra summons a moving beam of intense light from the sky, doing damage to anyone caught under the beam. It's actually a pretty long range, and it does actually start a little bit in front of you, despite what the thing says. It actually has a range of just over 70. I think it's 80. So minion waves take 55 from where you're standing. So you can actually stand off to the side slightly and hit them with the full thing. So it's not even that bad. Like, if you watch, this is how far away I can be and still hit a full minion wave. I can be pretty much at the back where mine would be. That's pretty strong. In fact, actually, I'm just going to do that to kill off and help those things. Kill them. All right. But yeah, you can see just how long range this ability is. It's pretty damn good. And it's got a 10-second cooldown as well, which means, you know, you've got this up pretty much whenever. So you see the minion wave come in. You see it come in. Look at this. I can be stood here and hit everything. And I can do that and get out the way. Also as well, I can use my other abilities to help clear the wave from range, and it's great. Absolutely great. So already, we have a really fun, easy, and safe clear for a god, which gives him movement speed and is pretty damn basic to understand. It's a single line, it just goes like that. So that's really good. His 2 is called Divine Light. Light starts to emanate from Ra, stacking a slow every 0.5 seconds on enemies near him, and twice as fast on enemies facing him. After 2 seconds, the light detonates, doing damage and increasing the slow duration. Any members facing Ra at this time of the explosion are also blinded. So this slow can stack, I think it's like 8 times. So you can get like a 40% slow on Ra at 30 radius, and the slow will then last after 3 seconds. So it's the slow lasts for 3 seconds after 2 seconds of channeling. So that's pretty damn good. And as well, this thing does damage as well, which is really strong. And it procs his passive as well, but it only procs his passive at the end of the ability. So if you watch, if you'll see here, you watch, you'll see, look, it hasn't gone off yet. Now it's gone off. And as you can see as well, you can see the slow and the... Whenever we've been fighting Robert in the past, whenever the screen's flashed white, that's why. It's because of Divine Light. So, his 3, and this is where Ra has found his utility and become quite useful. Solar Blessing. Ra summons a pillar of blessed light. Allies inside this blessing are healed every second, and enemies take damage every second. So it's a hot dot that's placeable in an area. Now, why is this so strong? Well, first of all, that hot dot applies to minions as well, meaning that I can heal my minions and save and damage yours. So for example, if I do this, this minion's going to get healed and this minion, or their minion, will take damage. That's pretty strong. Which also means as well, if I place these on my minions and the enemy minions, not only do mine heal up, but also the enemies take damage, meaning that I get a bit more of a wave and make it a little bit harder for the enemy to clear the wave. If they're expecting an ability to clear the wave with 2 abilities and I've healed mine up, it's going to take them a little bit longer, meaning that at that point I can start rotating and running around and having a really fun time with my passive whilst they're still sat there clearing minion wave, meaning I can go off to get the fire elementals or the right side mid harpies or splitting them both and getting everything, and it'd be great. So Ra already has found a pretty strong basis from being able to clear the wave and shift it into his favor, which is pretty strong. But the ultimate is what really sets Ra up for a fantastic time, and that is called Searing Pain. Ra calls on the power of the sun to decimate his foes in an extreme blast of heat in front of him, doing damage to all enemies unlucky enough to find themselves in its path. Now, the first thing I want you to know is that the cooldown on this is 70 seconds. The next thing I want you to know is that the cooldown goes down to 50 seconds. This ability is off cooldown every 50 seconds without CDR, meaning that Ra has better CDR than a god with full CDR on a 90-second ult. This ability is great. Also as well, it's a really long range. I think it's 120. It has a little bit of a wind-up time, and you can't change the direction where you're firing, but if you have any setup on your team, someone's taking a lot of damage. And oh my god, is this ability great. And the best part about this is, unlike, say, a Naja ult into a Scylla ult, this can come up on cooldown the same amount of times as Naja with CDR. Meaning that you're in a situation where you can set up these plays more often. The damage on this is great. I don't actually know what the scaling is on it, so let's find out exactly what that scaling is on it. It's 100% scaling on it as well. That's pretty damn great. Also as well, I don't want to actually go for those shoes. I want to check an easier number, which is 40. So yeah, that right there comes with 100% scaling. Celestial Beam comes in with 90%. Is it 90%? It's either 90 or 80% scaling. It's 8's coming off, which is 5. I think it's, yeah, it's 80% scaling on Celestial Beam, which is pretty damn strong. Divine Light's coming in with 30% scaling, I think. Yes, 30% scaling. Solar Blessing has a pretty decent heal on it as well. So, you know, all these things are pretty strong. So it's not as if we're looking at this and saying, this guy doesn't really do much damage. He's all got the utility. This guy has some good damage, and 400 base is nothing to laugh at. So already you guys have seen this kit. You've seen how great it is. One thing I do want to point out is a really fun combo, which is this. Bang. You can fire both of those and have the 2 line up at the same time. Oh my god, is it strong. It's so strong. It takes a little bit more effort to time it, but you can do it fairly quickly off the 2 of each other. Other things to note as well, if your ult isn't up and say you've got a Naja ult or anything like that, just wait wherever Naja's going to land and then blah, like that. Because it's a pretty instant damage and you don't get any momentum off at the end of the Naja or Kumba ult or anything like that. So it's pretty good setup, or a knock up or anything like that. It's just great. So it's not as if Ra doesn't come with any damage. He's great. And then during the team fights, or outside of the team fights rather, you can just do this and heal up. And that's pretty strong. Only drawback about this is if you're trying to do this in the middle of a team fight, then it's not quite like a Guan Yu where it's like, here, 400 health or 300 health straight off the bat, like bang, here's 300 health. It's more of a case of, here is 20 health right now. Oh, and I damaged the enemies for 20. So yeah, it's not so much a case of this is going to be a big heal during fights, but outside of fights, this is amazing. This is a brilliant sustain. Bearing in mind that this lifetime lasts for 6, so you're going to have 6 times whatever this comes in. That is going to be 360 health over the 6 seconds, plus whatever the scaling is, which is 15% times 6, which is 90. So 90% scaling on top of that. So basically take Celestial Beam scaling and shove that onto the healing at the end, and you get roughly what you're going to do, which is a really good heal. Not to mention as well, it's a big AoE as well. Not to mention as well, it gives you your passive as well. Not to mention as well, you can use this to heal minions. Not to mention as well, this is great for sieging a tower. Ra is great, and he's kind of sort of always going to be safe-ish. Yes, he can get picked off because he has no mobility or leaps. You have to rely on his passive to really try and do anything like that. But outside of that, if you can work with that passive and you're okay at being able to keep that passive going as long as possible whilst making sure that you're not burning through all your mana, then you're going to be pretty good. But now, ladies and gentlemen, let's go over a leveling guide for this god. Okay, so level 1. What do we go for? Now, you may be thinking that Solar Blessing may be the best option you could go for. You're like, oh, it's a heal, it's a dot, it makes sure we get into lane without any problems, it'd be great. It's okay, but the problem is the fact that A, it doesn't do as much damage as Celestial Beam, and B, something very important is with Celestial Beam, you can hit the back camps and the red buff because of how long it is. If you have a look at it, that is long enough for you to be able to, if back camps are here, for you to be able to go over to your red buff, hit the red buff like 5 times, turn around, get behind it, and then fire those over towards your ADC. So as you can see, that's pretty much the distance I need to go, and then I can go blap and hit it. Not only that as well, it does more damage, it has better scaling, so, you know, Celestial Beam. Solar Blessing is just too slow and can't hit everything, so it's best to get your Celestial Beam. Also as well, this is your main wave clear. Level 2, once you're in that lane by yourself, get your Solar Blessing. If you have outcleared your opponent, this means that you can drop those down on your front minions, and they will then get healed up, and your enemy doesn't have the potential to clear those. They're screwed. Also as well, it means that you have more minion health, which is great. Or if you don't, then what you can do is you can sort of sit in this with the enemy minions, and you can sort of sustain through a little bit of it as well, and hit the minions with the Celestial Beam when it comes back up. Though, really, Ra has pretty good early game. It really comes online in the mid game. So that's sort of the point which you want. After this, see, the way I usually play Ra is to go balls to the walls and never pick up my 2, pretty much. But I would recommend picking up the 2 at level 3. Or nah, don't pick it up level 3. Pick up Celestial Beam level 3. It gets you stronger clear. It really, really helps. Level 4, you probably should get just 1 point in it. It's worth having 1 point just because it helps you with your passive when you don't want to use your 1 or your 3 because you want to use those for when you're ganking or healing up an enemy, healing up an ally. You don't want to go into another lane and be like, ha, I'm here. I don't have my Celestial Beam. I used it on the way over here to keep my passive going. You don't want to do that. You'd rather use your 2 for that. Your 2 is kind of your, I'll use it to keep my passive going. For the most part, you can use it for an escape and to chase down enemies or help secure a kill. But for the most part, it is just going to be the, I want to use it for my passive. So picking it up at least lets you get it. At this point, get Searing Pain. There is no reason not to get Searing Pain. In fact, Ra is now online to be able to kill people with your jungler. That's all you need to know. Fenrir comes in, Hunbats, Kumbhakana, Athena, Erlang Shen, if you really want to go off that. Naja, as we already spoke about. Circuit can even come off of that stuff. Hell, even Ao Kuang level 5. If he throws them up into the air, he then drops down with into the place. It's great. They can't move anywhere. It's going to set you up for a kill. So that's a thing. Thanatos, we saw it in the SPL happen. You know, there's options there. Level 6, get yourself more Celestial Beam. If you haven't picked up your 2, start working as if you're playing Fenrir, where you don't pick up Seething How, you sort of max your 1 and your 3 equally. Like I said, it's really down to playstyle. I'll go over the other the build afterwards, or leveling guide afterwards, that I usually go for. Celestial Beam's next. Next point, your Celestial Beam should pretty much clear the wave by now. You should have like boots and maybe another half item online, if not more. So you can get your second point in Solar Blessing. It's going to help. If, however, your ult isn't on cooldown, again, this is something you really have to think about, is your ult on cooldown, because you are going to want to level this ult every chance you get. Searing Pain is just too good not to. You can pick up yours, you can wait at level 9 and go for Celestial Beam and Searing Pain. It's entirely up to you. I just usually end up picking up the second point in Solar Blessing just because it helps with healing. It helps me deal with any poke damage that I'm taking. Helps me. It really helps with just healing up minions, especially if a fun thing you can do is you can drop your heal onto minions when they're in tower, which means they get healed up which means the tower doesn't kill them, which means they do a lot more tower damage. Yes, this means that you can give your enemies more gold. Usually you want to end up in a situation where the enemies don't get gold because it's all gone to the tower. However, if you are able to look for a lot of tower pressure, this is a good way to do it. If their enemy has already rotated, you can push the wave in and punish them really hard by putting a lot of tower pressure in as well. If things are going all right where they've rotated. If not, don't save it. Let all that gold go to tower. It's better to do so. Level 10, finish up getting your Celestial Beam. This is a nice way of poke. This is a good, solid amount of damage, and will fully clear the wave now, for the most part. There may be times where it won't. It's usually brute minions that it won't, but they're like a basic attack away. Level 11. Whoops, that was not the one I wanted. You do not want to pick up another point in Divine Light. You actually want to get yourself your Solar Blessing. The more points in Solar Blessing, the better, because you really want to get that heal up. You really badly want that heal to go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 1, 2, and as many points in the Celestial Beam as you can. So there you go, that's what you want. This is also going to help you with when teams are looking for Gold Furies. You can start sustaining up in between the poke wars when you come off it, leash it, all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty strong. Keep going, level 12, keep getting that Solar Blessing. Level 13, get Searing Pain. You're dropping it down by another 5 seconds. You're putting even more damage onto Searing Pain, which is amazing. So keep going with that. After that, you finish up with Solar Blessing. And now you kind of have to get Divine Light and then Searing Pain whenever you can, because, you know, it's Euro and it's amazing. So level 20 on Ra, you're going to look something like this. In fact, actually, this is entirely what you're going to look at. I will quickly now go over the other build or the other leveling guide that I go for, and that's you get your 3. At this point, you get your 1. At this point, you get your 3. At this point, you get your ult. At this point, you get Searing Pain. Keep getting Searing Pain. Keep getting this. You get your ult when you can. You get Searing Pain, level 12. You get level 11. You get this. So level 12, you end up looking like this. This is much more a case of hard farm, more so than looking to try and just use Divine Light. You can run with this. It's similar to how you can run with Ares without bolster defense for a long period of time if you really just want to try and carry a game and push out a fuck ton of damage. But it's not the best option. It's usually best to get 1 point in it. After this point, then at level 13, this is when you'll start picking up your 2 because you kind of have to. So you pick up all of your 2, as much of your 2 as you can. It does kind of limit a power spike for you through the... It kind of accentuates the early game power spike, and then you sort of get this lull sort of after level 14 or level 13 for like 3 levels because you're only leveling your 2. So just keep that in mind. It does kind of lull you in the mid game just a little bit. But it's okay because you still have Searing Pain and you've got maxed 1 and you maxed 3. So that's a build for him. Let me know what you guys think about that. Let me know whether or not you guys prefer going with 2, just getting 1 point in it, or whether you forego that, whether or not you have any other suggestions for reasons why or why not to pick up the 2. It's important to share these ideas because I'm never usually sure whether or not it's best to get the 2 or not. Like I said, the main reason I do it is because I'm just like, yeah, I should probably get this to keep my passive going, but that's just me. Like I said, it does have a slow on it, and it does have a 40% slow and a 30 radius, which is nice. It is nice, and it can force a disengage because you have to turn away. If you don't turn away, you're going to get blind. If you've turned away, you're not facing your opponent. So I don't believe there's any abilities that can hit backwards. So yeah, you can stop people fighting damage into you just for a second. It's not going to do much, but it can do some stuff. Also as well, one of the things you can use this for is because you're going to get the stacking slow, you can use it to chase someone down and then fire the one square into their face, which is quite dirty. So that's a thing that you can do. Either way, ladies and gentlemen, now that we've gone over our leveling guide, let's go over a build for Ra. Okay then, so starting off, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to want to either pick up yourself Purification or a Sanctuary. This comes down to what pretty much you're facing. If you've got a team that in the early game can do a lot of poke to you and CC you, and you know that their ultimates are probably going to kill you, like they've got a Thorstan or an Athena Taunt or a Kumbhakana or something like that, and you know that Beads is going to set up for it, get yourself Beads. If you think that it'd be better for you just to be able to sank the damage, then pick up a Sanctuary. Either way, you're going to pick up both of these, spoiler alert. But I usually play it safe, pick up Beads, just because most of the time, Beads is the best way to stop setup for damage rather than trying to predict when damage is coming to then try and avoid that. But that's just me. After this, you gotta pick up yourself Soulstone. And you kind of have a choice at this point as to what you want to do. If your name is Pretty Prime, then you'll pick up the start of Warlock Sash, and that is an uncommon sash that you'll want to pick up. It takes up all your gold, you get no pots for this, and you can abuse this very hard early, so bear that in mind. Most people will look at 3 sort of options. You have your shoes, which on Ra, you don't really need. He already has movement speed, so getting the shoes isn't necessarily the best way to try and help with him. It doesn't come with any damage, so that's not great. Your second option is picking up Lost Artifact. Lost Artifact means that you could then run into a Doom Orb if you're having a great early game, or you can hold it off for that Rudder Tahuti or your Chronos Pendant. The third option is starting off with Tiny Trinket. It's a little bit of magical power, a little bit of lifesteal. It's quite nice to have. It helps Ra sustain even further out and accentuates that. Personally, I pretty much like running the Lost Artifact just because it gives him a little bit of MP5 coupled in with the MP5 from Soulstone and the mana you're already getting. It means that you don't have to worry about mana at all. You can trade up, you can offset mana for health if you're going for the option where you don't level your 2 and you level your 3 more than that. So you have more sustain from that, so you're okay. That's personally just me. It really comes down to what you're facing. If you want to rush Boots, rush Boots. If you want to rush Book of Thoth, get that Soul Reliquary. If you want to rush Warlock Sash, go on Common Sash. It's entirely up to you. Either way, you'll get that, you'll get that, you'll get that, because that's pretty much what you want. You can run double mana pots if you'd rather sit in your healing, but you're better off using your healing on the minions, so it's better to get 1 and 1, in my opinion. It's entirely up to you. If you want to use your 3 for healing and forgo potions, or forgo healing potions and get mana potions, then okay. But be careful doing that. Either way, the next thing you're going to want to rush is get them Shoes of the Magi. Right idea. Because they're great. If, however, you're having an amazing early game and you know the enemy's got they're looking for a really late game mage, like they're looking for the Scylla in the late game, they're really trying to get that big late game damage like a Janus or something like that, and you really you're going off on one, like it's amazing, you can go for the Doom Orb. Doom Orb is very risky on Ra, just because, like we talked about earlier, he doesn't have any escape factor outside of I'm faster than everyone, usually, sort of, maybe. So it can be a spicy pick. If you can stack it and work with it, oh my god, is it amazing, because you do so much damage. You just have to be really careful. However, this is more designed for the I am off to a good start, I need to pressure this hard. We want to make sure the enemies do not get to late game. We want to push our early game fights as best as possible. So if they have like an Alquong Scylla mid, then you can really push that hard. So you've got like a Thor or a Najar, then you can really push that hard with your Doom Orb, really push a lot of damage in. Other options is more of the farm option, and that's picking up that Warlock Sash. Warlock Sash is so safe. That is the thing about Warlock Sash, is it's safe. It's a lot of power. The earlier you can get this online, the better. And you just start getting health and mana and power. And it's really nice. It's just nice and safe. It's just, hey, I'm going to just throw my one out into the waves, run around the map because I have movement speed, see where I can go. And that's pretty much what Ra likes to do, is he likes to just drop the one on the wave, set it, forget it, move on to the next thing to try and do. He's not necessarily looking to try and poke out the enemy. He's more looking to try and get around the map and see if he can put pressure elsewhere, hit the team, all that kind of stuff. So Warlock Sash, really nice for farming. He's very much like a Kukulkan who's just like, I'm going to drop my 3 and then leave. Except instead of having to wait for the ticks to kill everything, it's just, I'm going to drop my 1, everything's dead, bye now. So yeah, Warlock Sash, absolutely great. After this, you've kind of got a couple options of variations as to where you want to go. You've got your Lost Artifact. If you didn't go Doom Orb, don't go Warlock Sash. You've already got the power and things like that. Look to try and get something else like a Bancroft's Talon for a lot more power and survivability, which is quite nice, or a Pythagorean's Piece if you've got the allies for it, or a Divine Ruin if the enemy's got healing. It's up to you. You have to think about what the enemy's got as well, so keep that in mind. If you're going for this build, Lost Artifact, shove it into a Chronos Pendant now. The reason I like the Chronos Pendant is because this is going to get your ult off more often, it gets your 1-up more often, gets your heals up more often, it lets you start making plays more often with damage that you have, which is nice. After this, Obsidian Shard is pretty much where you need to go, because they're going to start getting tanky. This is going to let you start putting a lot of objective pressure in, so that's good. Another option you can go for if you don't want to go for any stacks is instead of that is you pick up the, what is it called? It's Dynasty Plate Helm. Dynasty Plate Helm here will give you a lot of magical power, some protections, some magical penetration, coupled in with this and this. It's pretty standard. There's a lot of different ways you can go with Ra. Like, I mean, a lot of ways you can go with Ra. Like, there's a lot of ways you can go with Ra. There's the utility, the damage, the healing. Really, there's a lot of options. So you can then go for, where is Warlock Sash? Warlock Sash. There you are. This is just the way that I like to build him, because I'm slightly special in the way that I build him. Next up, Obsidian Shard. Get that pen. Get that pen online. This point, this is more for the I'm going to blow you up style build. It does offer a lot of strong healing just in terms of the base numbers because you have a high lot of scaling. At this point, next up on your list of things to buy is probably going to be that either Rod or Tahuti, because Rod's going to give you so much damage. If you want to play it a little bit more cost effective, well, I say cost effective, if you want to just blow people up more, Soul Reaver is the option. Soul Reaver is going to give you a lot of damage. It's just going to blow people up really hard. 10% of a god's health is amazing. So that's really, really strong. More mana is great. Magical power is great. And finally, you're going to want to slip in that Rod of the Booty. Why? Because it's Rod of Tahuti. No mage is ever complete without Rod of Tahuti. Except maybe Jonqui, but that's debatable. So yeah, there's a lot of different variations you can go on this guard. A lot. If, say, instead of Warlock Sash, you don't want to go for that, you can rush yourself a Rod of Asclepius. Rod of Asclepius will give you 75 magical power, which is pretty good. 10% movement speed, which really helps Ra, especially with his passive and boots. He's very, very fast. And as well, augmenting healing and regen of allies by 25% within 70 units. This means his heal heals for even more, which is amazing. So you can do that. If you want to go for a bit more of a defensive kind of utility mage, and they've got the builds for it, then the item you want to go for is Lotus Crown. Physical protections, 60 magical power, 20 MP5, and any god affected by your heal gains 20 physical and magical protections for 5 seconds. This means that going into a team fight, sieging up a tower, all those kinds of things, it can be effective. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of Lotus Crown. I feel like it doesn't do enough on Ra. I would rather see this on a support who's got that kind of stuff. So I'd rather see that on like a Sylvanas or on a Terra or someone like that. But Ra is perfectly fine with getting it. Like I said, it really comes down to what you want. If you want to go for like the full utility base thing, then you do this. Like, this is a lot. The reason why I still get the Chronos Pendant is because it's Chronos Pendant. Chronos Pendant is amazing. And for this kind of utility build, you go Shoes of the Magi, go Chronos Pendant next because you want the power in CDR. After Chronos Pendant, get rid of Asclepius for more power, health, and movement speed. Get your Obsidian Shard. When teamfights start dropping around, Lotus Crown, and finish it up with the Rod of Tahuti. Again, I really like the build, which is just, I'm going to blow people up, which is Shoes of the Magi, going into Warlock Sash because it's nice and safe and a little bit of health so you can keep alive. Go into the Chronos Pendant, Obsidian Shard, and then finishing it off with Rod of Tahuti and Soul Reaver, because Soul Reaver just, it blows people up so hard. So hard. Other options you can go for, Bancroft's Talon is quite good. Instead of the Chronos Pendant, really comes down to what you're doing again. Pythagorean's Piece is still pretty good as well. Gives you 10% CDR as well. Gives you the magical lifesteal, gives you the magical power and the aura, so that if you've got like, I don't know, say a Freya ADC with a Fafnir and you're in the mid lane with Ra. you could fairly easily say getting a Pythagorean's piece is worth it, because you'll be able to give your Freya that more lifesteal and magical power as well. Chances are she may pick up Pythagorean's piece herself. So again, just be careful in case she is, in which case then pick up Bancroft's Talon because it's so much fucking power. Divine Ruin if the enemy's got anti-healing. Like I said with the Ymir build, look at what the enemy is doing and think, I need to sustain my team. I do not need to be the mage damage. We have a Freya, we have a Kronos, we have a Sol. I can work on being a bit more utility based. I have got an Athena jungle. We don't necessarily need full magical power. I can afford to do this. Or my team has got a lot of sustain. We have a Guan Yu. I would actually like to pick up the Rod of Asclepius. Or they have a Terra and a Sylvanas and a Guan Yu. I need as much anti-heal as I can get. We're getting a Divine Ruin. It's all down to what the enemy is building. As I said, for Relics, Purification, and Sanctuary, you don't need anything else. Yes, the enemy team may pick up a Weakening Curse. That's where your solo lane or your solo lane or your ADC buys a Sprint or a Shell to help deal with that. Like I said, this is a great god. I love this god. And the best thing is in this build, you have 40 seconds on your ult. That pretty much means that even if you whiff your ult, like, shit, I fucked up and I didn't hit the target, I messed up the timing, you know, I hit it too early or hit it too late or whatever, you've only got 40 seconds to wait. Team fights can last a minute, minute and a half. You get your ult up 3 times in that minute and a half. Like, just seriously, like, just watch, like, bang. There's so much damage get chunked into your face. Like, that's a lot of damage, like, a stupid amount of damage. So, yeah, use that. And then, like, just, it's great. Absolutely great. If they got a lot of squishies, then you're going to completely obliterate them. If they have tanks, you're going to be able to out-sustain them. It's great. Just look at this. Look at that. I mean, I know this Raw has no items, but look at this. That's so much damage. And we don't even have Warlock Sash stack. It's insane. And my ult's almost off cooldown already, guys. Like, this god is great. But yeah, things to note about Raw. Yes, you can freehand ults. Yes, it's great to hit a freehand ult. However, until you are able to, like, there's no greater feeling in the world than to just be in like if you want to learn to hit raw ults, go to arena and just try and hit your ult off cooldown every time. Try and look for the targets that you know you can then set up a kill off of, but just try and set up these kills. You can use your ult both as a finisher and a sort of a haha, look, you think you're safe, now bang, you have no health. Like, almost like a Neath as an initiation, just like, haha, you think you're gonna get so much health, and then bang, you've just lost like 400 or 500, late game 800, late game half of an enemy's health. You can like half hit someone with the ult, and if anyone can then set up off of that, great. So yeah, Ra is amazing. Absolutely love Ra. He has one of the best Gold Fury objectives, both secure and steal. You can be over the mid lane wall, enemies will be doing this, and then suddenly just, it's a case of, like, look at this, how much fucking, come on, show me how much health you have. You've got like half health, bang. Look at that. Half health on a freaking Ra ult. Like, that is insane. Also as well, Ra has absolutely fantastic Gold Fury pressure when he's with the team, because he can do this, heal everyone up that's fighting the Gold Fury, and then as well, he can step outside of that range and start doing all these great things. Divine Light can even come through as well in the late stages as doing a lot of damage. Like, seriously, it actually does a fair bit of damage. Like, look at this. Look at that, that did 428 damage. Like, Ra has so much secure potential. His Celestial Beam is 700 damage. His Searing Pain is 1,200. And, like we said earlier, drop both of them at the same time. 2,000 damage. Absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. And it's so good. Even on Fire Giant, you can secure using that technique, because it just does so much damage. Like, just an absolute truck on it. Look at this. Also, so don't forget, Divine Light does do damage, so you can use it. And look at my movement speed. My movement speed is great right now. Just bang. And look at this. Just look at this. I think I'm getting low. And now I'm not getting low. And then... Oh, guys, enemy team's coming in. Burn it, burn it, burn it. Bang. Even with the Fire Giant debuff of doing less damage, that still did 800 damage. And if your ADC warrior tank is playing smart, then they'll tank it for you. So, you know, that's just so much damage. Ra is so much fun. I cannot stress how much fun Ra is. He's very... He has the potential to get shut down fairly easily. You can camp him, he has no mobility, so you have to be careful. But it's always going to hit late game. You're always going to have the potential to kill someone flat out with your ultimate. It's on a 40-second cooldown with 20% CDR. If you go full CDR on this guy, like, his ult's on, like, 30 seconds. Like, straight up 30 seconds. Like, I don't even know. Like, look at that. 35 seconds for an ultimate. How do you even do that? Like, how? I just sold my boots in place of that. That was not what I meant to do. I meant to... Like, that's 35 seconds. So, like, sell that and get the... Freaking that. That was 35 seconds. 30 seconds on an ultimate! What? What? I can't stress how good that is. Like, that's just like 1,000 seconds every 30 seconds. So you get 5 celestial beams and then blow up some with your ult. Or just go play Ra, guys. Go play Ra. Have fun with him. Remember to try and manage your passive as best as you can, but don't think that your passive is the be-all and end-all of things. Divine Light is a slow, so use it as a slow. It's so good to just run up to enemies. If they're in range, you can outrun them, and then black, drop that in their face. And you'll do 1,000 damage to them. It's great. Solar Blessing is a great heal when you're sieging up a tower, because it deals so much it heals so much damage. Like, this is a fucking full CDR build, and I can guarantee you I will out-heal my minions, like, insanely. In the early stages, use where you place the heal is super important. Try and place it on the melees, and then try and hit the backline. Don't try and hit anything else. Try and hit the backline, because what you want to try and do is you want to get all your minions inside the heal at that point, because it's so good. You can drop it on all of the enemies, but it's not worth it. Make sure you hit them in that front heal so that you heal your minions as well, because then you get more minions, or minions with quote-unquote more health, because the enemies have to put more damage into them. So it's kind of like old Sylvanas, where it was like, haha, we have like a wave and a half for every wave you have. Fuck you, you're getting pushed under tower. It's so good. I can't stress enough how fun Ra is. And he's so easy to get the basic understanding of. As long as you know your limits of, I am a squishy god, I can get picked off really easily, you will be okay. You have really good long-range stuff. Use it long range. If you can't hit your ult freehand, wait for setup. I cannot stress that enough. Wait for setup. Don't try and be the big hero who's like, I can hit my ult. Bleh! Oh, I missed. If you have a Kumbhakana, wait on the Kumbhakana. If you have any stuns or cripples or roots, wait on those. If you have a Neath whose backflips down, or they've just backflipped, line it up and fire. You can hit shit. You can do it. Believe that you can do it. And if you do whiff, it's 70 seconds at worst. Your ult's going to come up more than most people. Either way, let me know in the comments down below how you guys got on with Ra. Let me know how you guys have had fun with him, whether or not you've got any differences in builds, successes, failures. All of them are really important so that we can all share and develop and grow as a community. Either way, ladies and gentlemen, I have been SuperSonicBlur. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and favorite for more, and to share this stuff so people know that it exists. You guys have been a fantastic audience, and I shall see you all next time.